Hope everybody had a great weekend. We're going to go right into part 3, chapter 3, which is titled Anticipation. And then in parentheses it says thinking negatively, which I wasn't too thrilled about at first, but as I read the chapter, it made a lot more sense and I was able to jump on board. So anticipation. The chapter begins by talking about a CEO and the CEO addressing their team, talking about the failure of a product. Well, a big product they put a lot of time and effort into, and then they started talking about all the positives and negatives, pretty much a debrief. And then they go into talking about that this was a practice debrief. So the project didn't actually fail, but they wanted to anticipate as if it were. So that's where that thinking negatively really came out, because they wanted to be prepared. Because a lot of times, the debriefing term I use, it's used in the military a lot, where after a mission, you come back, you figure out, okay, what did we like? What didn't we like? What do we need to focus on more? What do we need to revert from? So in this method, in this thinking, they wanted to do that before the problem happened as a way to kind of see it. And so instead of being in hindsight all the time, now you develop a little bit more foresight with it. And the term they use is what they call pre-mortem. Pre-mortem, which is the practicing of this debrief. So envisioning an issue that could go wrong before it actually happens. So you have to think a little bit negatively, but for a positive reason. So that's why I was able to jump on board with it. And I think this is so important because there are external factors that we've talked about throughout this entire book that are just out of our control that can impede our progress. So there's something that you gotta take into consideration whether you like it or not, because your plan and the way you envision it most times very rarely resemble each other. And so that's why we can't be surprised when these continue to happen, when things outside of our control hinder our progress. Like, we can't just continue to be surprised, because we got to understand that they're gonna happen, right? We got to be able to anticipate these problems so that way we can continue to move forward. And the big thing about this anticipation, this practicing a debrief, this small connotation of thinking negatively, like, we can't compare it to being pessimistic, because they're not the same. Right? We can't confuse those two, because this anticipation is a much more rational approach. And when we can think rationally, then we have the ability to act and move forward rationally as well. Because there's nothing worse than something going wrong and then you just being totally unprepared for it. And especially in a business world, in our world, and any type of adversity, especially throughout the course of a football game, like, those things happen. So the one thing we can't do is be completely unprepared when they do. And then the other thing about anticipation, it can help raise our awareness levels. And then when we have we have raised awareness levels, then our focus is more deep. Right? We have the more ability to channel our energy and our focus to the things that we can control. Right? So even though we're prepared for failure, like, we have the energy to find a new path. So wherever that failure might lead us, we'll be ready for it and be able to act appropriately. That's chapter 3. We'll go right into chapter 4. Let's stay up with these workouts, especially since we just entered a new block. So if you guys got something that you're doing that you like, let me know. I know, Glove, you mentioned in the team meeting about 20 minutes ago that I would be proud of what you just did. So let me know. Fill me in. Anybody else who's got that stuff, let me know as well. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.